Yo, what's good everyone? Today I'm going to be taking a first look here at this Week 17 NFL DraftKings main slate, and like I always do in these videos, I'm going to go position by position, highlighting the plays that are sticking out to me here early in the week, and then we'll wrap up this video by putting together a first look cash lineup and a first look tournament lineup. With that being said, let's dive right into this. And before we dive into the quarterbacks here, everyone, I just want to let you know this will be the last first look video here of this NFL season. Next week we have Week 18, and there's just so much uncertainty heading into those games that it's purely a tournament or GPP week for me. I don't even dip into the cash game side of things. And then we have playoffs. I'm not entirely sure what my schedule is going to look like for that, but stay tuned. I will have content for sure out for the wild card round and the divisional round of playoffs. With all that said, let's dive into the quarterbacks here, and it is worth noting there's 13 games on the main slate here this week, 26 different teams to choose from, really a massive player pool in general, a lot to love about this slate. I'm going to do the best I can to condense it here for this first look, and that starts here by breaking these quarterbacks into cash and tournament quarterbacks. I got 3 cash game quarterbacks that are sticking out to me here on Tuesday, and then a few tournament quarterbacks as well. Now, when it comes to the cash game quarterbacks, really going with the same theme here that we've done all year long, looking for those quarterbacks who offer rushing upside. First one here is Jalen Hurts in a good matchup at home against the Arizona Cardinals, who arguably have the worst defense in the NFL. He should be able to beat this defense through the air with his pass catchers, but if he needs to use that rushing upside, that's really just a bonus. You could easily price him in the upper 8K range or even at $9,000, and I would consider him in this matchup. Now, on the other side of that game as well, I don't mind Kyler Murray. The Cardinals don't have anything to play for right now, and I'm hesitant to say that Murray is playing for job security because he could start pretty much anywhere in the NFL, but the Cardinals do have an early draft pick next year. Not crazy to think that they take a quarterback with that early draft pick. Again, I'm skeptical about that, but I do think he has something to play for, and I like that price there at $6,300, and that secondary for Philly hasn't been great this year. And scrolling back up here a little bit, someone who's absolutely playing for job security next year is Justin Fields of the Chicago Bears. They not only have 1 early draft pick, but 2 with the Carolina Panthers, having their first overall pick as well. Fields here sitting at $7,300, a little more expensive, but again, another guy who offers that rushing upside, and I certainly don't mind that matchup at home against the Atlanta Falcons. Now, when it comes to tournament quarterbacks here, right away, this game between the Ravens and Dolphins is sticking out to me. Whether we want to stack up the Ravens side with Lamar or the Dolphins side with Tua, that game definitely has a lot of shootout potential. And then 2 other quarterbacks that I want to highlight here, first being Russell Wilson. I know it's not pretty, but Russ really hasn't even been that bad this year. His numbers in terms of DraftKings points certainly hasn't been bad, and almost got to a point where I think we could consider him in cash. If you look at his numbers there off to the right-hand side, those aren't bad at all for a guy priced at $6,000. And the Broncos are a team that are still fighting for their playoff lives right now, albeit a really small chance. Good matchup at home here against the LA Chargers. And then scrolling down a little bit here, I don't know if he's going to play this week, but if he does, Will Levis is really interesting here on the tournament side of things, considering his price at $5,200. Rookie who really doesn't have anything to lose right now. Throw it to DeAndre Hopkins as many times as possible. But again, really like this price of $5,200. And if CJ Stroud is back here this week, I think there's some sneaky shootout potential in that game. Now, moving on to the running backs here, and this is probably going to come across as a bit lazy of a take, but it's really just the situation we're in here for Week 17. The top 3 guys that we have for our cash lineups are the 3 most expensive running backs in Christian McCaffrey, Kyren Williams, and Rachaad White. That's how it should be, right? If you've been the best performing running backs, especially when it comes to fantasy performance, you should be the most expensive running backs. And that's what we have here in Week 17. So if I can jam in 2 of those 3 guys, that looks to be the good route to go here as of Tuesday. But there could be some value that opens up here later in the week. I'm going to talk about that in just a minute. Before we get down to those plays in the 5K range, though, Travis Etienne's in a really interesting spot here. I don't love that Trevor Lawrence is really banged up right now and could very well miss here in Week 17, but this matchup really couldn't be better against the Carolina Panthers, who arguably have the worst rushing defense in the NFL. Scrolling down a little bit off of that, I also like DeAndre Swift here in this matchup against the Arizona Cardinals, and I know that Jalen Hurts and his pass catchers are going to be very popular in this matchup, so I think that Swift is going to be a nice pivot piece off of that. I can't consider him in cash just because he's been so up and down this year. The volume hasn't been super consistent. But at $6,500, I do think he's offering some nice upside on the tournament side of things. And then scrolling down here into the 5K range, these are more wait and see plays. But the first one here is Khalil Herbert. Had 20 rushing attempts last week with Deontay Foreman out. Sounds like he was out for personal issues, so he could very well be back this week. But if we know that Khalil Herbert's going to be getting 20 plus touches in this game against Atlanta, hard to ignore him at that price of $5,400. And then same thing here with Zamir White. I believe that Josh Jacobs will play here in week 17, but if he just so happens to miss once again, love the volume that White saw last week against Kansas City and ran pretty damn well. Back-to-back games now with 17.5 DraftKings points. And then we got the wide receivers here again, 26 different teams to choose from. A lot of elite options on this slate. Honestly, I probably don't need to convince you to play anybody above 7K in week 17. Probably don't even need to convince you to play anybody in the 6K range if I'm being honest, but I do want to highlight some guys that are maybe flying under the radar. First being Rashee Rice here. It is worth noting this guy has now seen 9 plus targets in 5 straight games. Clearly the number one wide receiver and maybe even pass catcher at this point in this Chiefs offense, overtaking Travis Kelce, who hasn't been fantastic as of late. I know his price is going up here at $6,900, but Kansas City Chiefs are definitely still playing for something as well, so Rice definitely in the mix. Right below him, Chris Olave. Saints are definitely still playing for something, and ever since Michael Thomas went out on the IR, Olave's been awesome in terms of fantasy production. You can see their 20 plus DraftKings points now in 4 of his last 5 games, priced at $6,800 in a good matchup against the Buccaneers, whose secondary is not very good. I think this could be a week that we go back to Adam Thielen here at $5,900. Played him a bunch to start the season, and his price got a bit too high. He started to fall off a little bit. But hey, look, if you're going to give me a guy in the 5K range who's getting 7 plus targets a game, I'll absolutely take advantage of that. And that Jags defense has not been great as of late either. Scrolling down here a little bit off of that, now we're starting to get into some of the value. Kind of a wait and see situation here with Noah Brown. I'll like him a lot more if CJ Stroud does play this week. But again, if you're going to give me a guy in the 5K range who can get me 7 plus targets, I'll absolutely take advantage of that. Just below him, we got another value play as well in the 4K range. This has got a, did I click this right? All right, there we go. Josh Palmer. Now, again, kind of a wait-and-see situation. I like him a lot more if Keenan Allen does not play here this week. I think he'd still be in play if Keenan Allen does suit up. But again, 4K range here. If you're going to give me a guy who can get 7 plus targets, I'll absolutely take advantage of that. Now, I'm sure some other value is going to open out throughout the week. It's only Tuesday. But one other guy here in the 4K range who's been getting decent volume at a low price is Demario Douglas here, the New England Patriots. He's probably not got a great ceiling. You can kind of see that here over the course of the year. But at $4,300, if you're going to get me 10 to 12 DraftKings points, I'm on board for that. Super cheap, super affordable, and I'm going to need to find some guys like that, especially if I want to pay up for running back this week. Oh, and one other guy who's offering that value here is Gerald Everett of the Los Angeles Chargers. Great matchup against the Broncos, who have not been good against tight ends all year long. Again, kind of a wait-and-see play here. I'll like him a lot better if Keenan Allen does not go here this week. But you can see the volume's been really consistent over the last 3 weeks. 8 targets here. I don't want to sound like a broken record, but if you're going to give me a guy in the mid-3K range getting 8 targets, again, I'll absolutely take advantage of that. And then when it comes to a defense, there's some decent plays here in the 3K range, no doubt about that. Actually, the Texans were sticking out to me there at $3,000 as a cash game play. I know I mentioned Levis earlier if he plays, but more of a tournament consideration for me there. So I think the Texans are cash game viable. If I'm really looking to save money here, it's probably going to be the Giants. I know the Rams are playing better football right now, but Giants aren't a horrible defense, and at $2,500, we need, 7.5 DraftKings points for them to hit 3x value? They're very capable of doing that. Now folks, before we put together a first look cash and tournament lineup here, if you could like this video and subscribe to the channel, I would greatly appreciate that. I know this is going to be the last first look video here of the year, but I still have my final cash plays, final tournament plays coming out not only this week, but also week 18 and for the NFL playoffs. Alright, now let's put together a first look cash lineup here. Going to start on the quarterback side of things, and as much as I'd love to get up to Jalen Hurts, I'd prefer to spend up at running back here initially, so let's save some money with Kyler Murray. And then I'm just going to spend up for the big two here in Christian McCaffrey, Kyren Williams, which obviously leads to me finding value at the wide receiver position. So we're going to put in Douglas here. And I don't hope that Keenan Allen misses this week, but based off my cash lineup here, kind of hoping he does just so we can jam in Joshua Palmer. Now let's go with a tight end here as well, where I could have put in Everett, but I like the way that Okonkwo played last week, and I love the matchup against Houston, so I'm going to put him in there. And then let's just save some money with a defense and put in the Giants. All right, $5,200 left over per player. That should allow me to spend up for one guy. I could go with Rice, but I'm going to put in Olave here, which gives me $3,700 left over. That's not going to be a running back. We could go the tight end route, but let's check out the wide receivers here. I know I don't typically highlight the 3K range when it comes to my first look. We're going to go with Shark here initially, and that's just because he's coming off of a massive game. Scored 2 touchdowns, 8 targets, racked up, 28 DraftKings points? I know he's not going to repeat that here this week. Maybe he does. I don't mind the matchup against the Jags, but I do like the price here. And in terms of a first look, I actually don't mind that. Now, let's put together a first look tournament lineup here, and I'd love to stack up that game between Philadelphia and Arizona. Maybe we'll do a little mini stack there. I'm going to go a little off the rail here and put in Russell Wilson, not only with a running back here in Williams, because we can save money and he's involved in the passing game, so I don't mind that correlation, but we're going to save some real money here at the wide receiver position. Cortland Sutton got hurt last week. He's in concussion protocol, so we might see Mims take a bump forward here this week. I think he had, 4 targets last week? Yeah, 4 targets. He's got that deep threat appeal. Just need him to score 1 touchdown, and he would likely meet value. Let's run it back there as well. We'll put in Everett this time around here, just because the Broncos have been so bad against tight ends this year. So that leaves us with, $6,200 left over per player. So let's do a little mini stack. Actually, let's do 2. Let's put in Travis Etienne at $7,200. Stack him up with the defense here in the Jags. We're going to be playing Bryce Young, who hasn't been spectacular this year. And then let's go back to this game here between the Eagles and Cardinals. I'm going to put in McBride. He's the #1 pass catcher in this offense right now. Going with a little 2 tight ends there as well. I don't mind that when it comes to my tournament lineups. And then I could put in A.J. Brown there, but let's go with Devontae Smith. $7,200 left over. Nico Collins, especially if CJ Stroud is back against that Titans secondary. I might just lock this tournament lineup in right now. I actually really like this. Alright everyone, that is going to wrap up this video here for today. As always, thank y'all for taking the time out of your day to watch the content here on this channel. If you could like this video and subscribe to the channel, I would greatly appreciate that. Let's have ourselves a great week here, folks, and in the meantime, I'm out of here.